Go shorty, it's my birthday. We gon' party like it's my birthday. We gon' sip Bacardi like it's my birthday. And you know we don't give up, cause it's my birthday. Oh, you're not ready. I am your man's Nick Rattlehead, and behind this camera somewhere out in California watching over your guy is my brother, my pal, and my partner, my compadre, my amigo. My man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Tell him one more time what's your name. Matt the Grab.
Can you feel that?
Matt the Grab. Tell him about it. And we are Aftershock Reviews, here to give you the birthday special of this guy here and to celebrate, to commemorate this day, 32 years old. And we're going to talk about an album that has been pivotal to me in my heavy metal journey. And we're going to talk about the treat that is The Sickness by Disturbed. Ooh. So but this leads into also a really good topic that I really wanted to just briefly touch on real quick. This brings up the topic of guilty pleasures. And the thing about it is, I think that term comes up a lot when it comes to music in general. We'll talk about music here, since this is a music show, where you might necessarily feel a little bit ashamed, right? Or you might feel like, hey, you know what? I kind of know this band is bad, but I kind of like them. It's a guilty pleasure. I know. Kind of like an excuse to like the band, right? An excuse to say, hey, I enjoy some of their stuff. Here's my thing. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. No such thing. And if you disagree with me, like, leave it in the comment section below. But there is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. You like what you like. It is what it is. And if somebody got a problem with it, deal with it. So for me, this is a situation where I freaking love this album. I freaking love this album, right? And I honest and true, I love this band. Fight me, right? Fight me, right? I probably shouldn't have threw my album like that. One of my favorites. But this album is fire, right? And we all kind of know who Disturbed is. We all kind of know like what they're about, right? A lot of the lyrical themes kind of tries to break the trance of conforming to society and conforming to what people think you should be like or what the norm is. Breaking out of that and being yourself. Not afraid to succumb to the anger based on what you observe through like media and things of that nature, and also filtering what you consume via the media and what is the truth and what isn't and how to address that. Pretty deep themes, right? You would think, but at the end of the day, I also have to be objective here. I have to be objective. This is a critique, right? And for me, it's a situation where I love the sentiment a lot of the time, but when it comes to the lyrical execution, it doesn't necessarily hit it. It just doesn't. But why do I like it? If lyrically it doesn't really always take the cake, then Nick, why do you like this album? Why do you like Disturbed? Well, Disturbed is exciting and it's fun. It's dumb fun. Shut your brain off, put it on screensaver, have the little Windows 95 screensaver with the pipes and everything, go across your brain and just submerge yourself in the instrumentation, submerge yourself in the energy of what's going on here. And that's where I think you really start to enjoy the music, especially in the 2000s, right? Because the 2000s, we're in like the thick of the nu metal wave. Like, you know, Korn is huge, Limp Bizkit is huge. We've got Deftones doing all that they're doing. We got Linkin Park, we got Evanescence, we got, it is the pinnacle of what nu metal is. And then on top of that, you also got to remember, because my buddy in early college, like it was my first year in college where he introduced me to this, because around that time in the 2000s, I wasn't necessarily listening to stuff like this, right? Because at this point, full transparency, Backstreet Boys fan. Sue me. Yet again, no such thing as a guilty pleasure. I fully embrace that. And I got into the metal thing a little bit later than that, right? So for me, when I first heard it, I'm like, yo, this is the hardest thing I ever heard. And to this day, I still will put this album on and get to going. But let's get into the track listing, right? That's enough of the intro. Let's get into the track listing, right? We start off with Voices. And Voices has this great little three doom. It's like three wonderful notes with this rhythmic drum pattern that intros us into the track, right? And it starts out really low and it gradually crescendos. It gradually gets louder. It gradually gets more full and more hard-bodied, right? Until we finally hear David Draymond's voice. It's so good. It's energy. That's what it is. The crux of what makes Disturbed. You can say a little bit is the subject matter, but the most of it, like 90% of it, is the energy. It's the rush you feel. It is the kick in the pants that you get that makes you want to get into the pit and start moshing around. And when we're talking about production as well, a lot of it is condensed and like layered and all this stuff to make it feel massive, right? To make it feel in your face. But also the guitars are very, very thrashy. And I think that's another thing that really helped them stand out, because around the new metal time, around, the Terry Date era, so to speak, right? Like things did feel compressed. Kick drums were really huge, almost hip hop levels of huge, right? And then on top of that, hip hop was also injected into the new metal sound. A la your Limp Bizkit, a la your early Deftones, a la Korn, who actually had Ice Cube on the Follow the Leader album, which also kind of like illustrates my point, right? Here, things are huge, and there is a hip-hop element in it. We'll get to Dropping Plates in a minute. But when it comes to tracks like Voices and like The Game, the next track, right? It just feels so much more metal. It feels so much more primal. It feels so much more just good old-fashioned stomping good time. And that's what Voices is. And I think also it goes back lyrically into the things we were talking about before when it's talking about conformity and breaking out of the spell of that conformity. Even the music video illustrates this as well, as we have this gentleman who's walking into his office building and he's being bullied by his different co-workers and his supervisor. And it's pretty much they're trying to get him to conform to be regular, because I'm sure they kind of illustrate the fact that they can hear the Disturbed coming from his headphones, right? But the voices in his head is trying to tell him to break free of that and to be himself, not to conform to the mundaneness of his everyday lifestyle, and to break out of that and be fully himself. It's a great little message, right? And I think also the energy of it, because once he kind of like says, screw all of you guys, he throws off his tie, he messes up his hair. So 2000s, right? He goes and he messes up his hair and now he's automatically edgy. And he leaves the office building and he goes to a Disturbed concert, and he's just like throws off his shirt. He has a little tank top on, 2000s, like a son of a gun. All he needed was a barbed wire tattoo or a tribal print tattoo and some Jinko pants, and he'd have got it with a wallet chain. He'd have got it then at that point. Yes. If Jinko pants ever come back into style, believe me, I'm buying 4 pairs of them. Not a game. But like I said before, he breaks free of that and he fully embraces the message of Disturbed and therefore himself, right? It's really good stuff. But the energy of the track, how it pushes us forward through light speed with its thrashy guitars, massive drums, and David Draymond's scratchy, dry vocal delivery. It's really great. The Game is also a great track as well, but also I have to be a little bit I'm biased here. It's a little bit forgettable, right? It has a little techno-y, electronically intro, and then it breaks into a hysteric fit as it kind of tries to give us that stomping 4/4 rip-roaring good time. But it is Stupefied that continues the trend. It is Stupefied that keeps our adrenaline levels high, because that freaking opening riff, holy cow, in 2021, it's still fire. Mess with me. Lie to me. Say it's not cool. Say it's not. Every time Stupefied doesn't come on, at least you don't go like this. I'm just saying. It's like you have to admit the drum pattern, the rhythm of The Beautiful People is kind of dope. Even if you don't like Marilyn Manson, you have to admit that rhythm section is dope, right? And you can't say you at least don't know the hook. The Beautiful People. At least you know that, right? It's the same thing with Stupefied. It is so much fun. And it's ridiculous too. Because then at that point you have, I've been waiting my whole life for just one tiny little innocent. It's like, here's the thing. I know Cardi B has that, what is her ad lib? The I think that's what it is, right? And then Nicki Minaj has hers, and what is it? Saweetie, I think that's how you say her name. Whatever. Every hip hop artist nowadays has their own little ad lib. You know who I really think started that? Disturbed. Why? Because David Dryman made sure, Dryman. I'm going to enunciate his name different ways throughout this video. So just work with me here. But he has so many different ad-libs that are his own and have now become iconic, right? It's so much fun. And that ad-lib is one, because he's actually saying, he's dropping the F-bomb. He's like, I've been waiting my whole life for just one tiny little innocent. It's fun. It's cool. And you have to also admit, in the 2000s, that's edgy. That's dangerous. That's cool. It's kind of like in the early 80s where the Number of the Beast album by Iron Maiden, everybody was afraid of that album cover because for them, that was pushing it. For them, that was too much, right? Nowadays, we look at it and we're like, that's kind of silly and a little bit cheesy, but whatever. Back then, they were scared of it. Same with this. It gave people the adrenaline they needed to get into the track, right? And then the chorus. And I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of singing here. But the chorus, see, but I don't get it. Don't you think maybe we could put it on credit? Don't you think it can take control and I don't let it? I get stupefied. It's all the same, you say. Live with it, what I do. It's good. It's good. It's good. You got to... If you think I'm jobbing, just go turn up the music a little bit too. Like, don't even just listen to it at like a room level. You have to turn up Stupefy. And because when you do, ooh, it's good. It puts you in a good mood. And then it has like the break near the center of the track where you start saying, Tefashe, which is a little cheesy. It's a little bit weird. I know it's supposed to be like the Middle Eastern type of thing. And what he's saying there is, be afraid, right? Don't know why he wants to say be afraid. I guess it's the edgy thing to say around that time, but it's still good. And it has the breakdown, which is another great thing I really like about Disturbed. And when it comes to this album in particular, they have breakdowns and they're fun. They're really fun. So don't deny me. No, baby, now don't. It's good. Stupefy is so much fun, right? And then after Stupefy, we have this little, it's like a noise interlude, right? That leads us into the titular track, Down with the Sickness. So let's talk about it. Remember we were talking about memorable rhythm intros when it came to Marilyn Manson's The Beautiful People? This might be even more iconic than that, or at least on the same level. Because when you hear that, when you hear that, you automatically know what time it is. And then what do you do after that? Fight me when I say this. I say the most iconic ad-lib in all of metal. Oh, wow. And I can actually do it too. Oh, wow. It's good. It's fun. It's fun. And then the rhythm, and then the guitar starts to hold hands with the rhythm. So its riff starts to go like it's fun, right? It's so much fun. And there's a lot of clean singing when it comes to this track too, which is a little bit, you would think he would want to bark more like he did on Stupefy. You would think he want to have a bit more of a aggressive tone during the verses like he does with voices, right? But that's not necessarily the case. It's a lot of clean singing here until we get to the chorus. Get up, come on, get down with it, which is a little bit of an exercise when you really stop to think about it, because he's telling you to get up, come on, and get down with the sickness. So you have to go up and then you have to come down in order to be down with this sickness, apparently, which is a bit of an exercise, but it's okay because this song is iconic when it comes to the riff, when it comes to the percussion, when it comes to his vocal delivery, when it comes to the ad-libs, but also there is the midsection that, you know, when I first saw the video, wasn't actually there. It is a midsection of David Draymond, I'm guessing he's a kid. He's being, you know, apparently spanked by his mom, and then, or beaten by his mom, either which one. And he decides in his head to kill his mom. And I guess at this point, I don't know what would lead him down this path, right? I don't know. I guess the sickness made him so angry that he's like, I'm gonna take this out on my mom. I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment of that per se, because I love my mama. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I love my mama. And I was just like, okay, that's a little much. And not even like a little much where it's just like so edgy, so dark, and so that it's just, you can't take it, right? It's not that. It's just so cheesy and so trying to be edgy that it just comes out silly, right? And for me, it's a situation where I'm guessing when you're in your 2000s and you're a young kid, maybe you would think that's cool. Maybe you would be like, I agree with that. Maybe you would be like, you know what? That's just too much. And you try to edit it out of the music video and whatever else like that. It's just, now it's silly. You know what I mean? And I kind of wish that David Draymond and company would have just said, you know what? We don't need that middle section. But I digress, because the song itself is still phenomenal. The song itself is still iconic. The song itself is still something that everybody will know. Now, after the sickness, the album starts to taper off a little bit. This is the problem I have with some albums, you know, not just them, but any artist in particular. I don't like when albums are front loaded, right? Like all the hit singles, all of the great stuff seems to be near the front, because we have like after the sickness, I think there's like Fear, which is really good because it has the intro and it has almost like this pulp horror movie, like organ going on in the back, or pipe organ, or a keyboard trying to sound like a pipe organ. And it has this nasty breakdown, right? And then it becomes a little bit lukewarm, right? Numb is just forgettable. Violent Fetish is just forgettable. The next really great song, and which also turns out was a single, is called Want, right? Now, Want starts off with almost like this radio broadcast intro, right? And then you start to hear David Draymond just interrupt it, and it goes silent, and he says, "She wants me!" And it goes into this really mid-tempo romp, right? And then it just becomes a little bit honest and true, a little bit run-of-the-mill, right? It doesn't turn into something really nasty until we start to get to our midsection transitional piece within the track, right? Where we have this really cool rhythmic passage, right? As David Draymond kind of barks over on top of it, savor the addiction, savor the affliction, savor me, savor. It's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool. Nothing that we haven't already experienced throughout most of the track listing prior to this, but it still is pretty cool. And then he breaks down and the whole song just drops into this wonderful, almost hardcore-esque breakdown. Savor the addiction, savor the affliction. And like the chord progressions are ascending and almost descending at the same time. It's really cool, right? And then after this breakdown, it goes back into our mid-tempo romp. And because of the adrenaline rush you get from the breakdown and that midsection, the tail end of the track, the last leg of this track, is even more invigorating. So what kind of saves the track listing until we get to the last one, which I think is really good, underrated, and wonderful in its cheats. It's like the Batman and Robin of this album, right? It's almost so terrible that is magnificent. And it's called Dropping Plates. I don't know what the hell Dropping Plates means, but this freaking track is awesome because it's a new metal track. David Draymond's rapping all across it with these almost, it's so new metal, barbed wire, Gen Co Hot Topic rhymes. I can't, it's almost unprocessable how corny and a little bit whack these rhymes are, but they're so corny and so whack. LFO. If anybody knows what I'm talking about when I say LFO. LFO Summer Girls. It's like that. Like, new kids on the block, had a bunch of hits, Chinese food makes me sick. Like that. It's like, David Draymond's rhymes are like that. It's so bad. And then it breaks down, right? Like I said before, Disturbed really enjoys their breakdowns. And he says, plates on your ass, bitch, plates on your ass. Cause here I come, I'm dropping plates, I'm dropping plates. Like, full transparency, that breakdown is pretty fire. That breakdown is pretty cool, right? And I love this track for its absurdity, right? It's absurd. And I think when it comes to this album, when it comes to a lot of Disturbed albums in general, but this one in particular, this one is so over the top, right? That I think it is one of the masterpieces of the 2000s when we're talking about new metal. I know we're going to want to bring up Hybrid Theory. I know we're going to want to bring up Follow the Leader. I know we're going to want to bring up Fallen. I know we're going to want to bring up a lot of other great new metal, Around the Fur, Deftones. This deserves to be up there too. Because it's so over the top. Because it's so crazy. Because it is a little bit extra, right? And I love that about it. This is one of my favorite albums. I absolutely adore it. I absolutely can't get enough of it. And I'm 32 years old now. And I still play this album regularly because it's so much fun. And I believe when you're talking about guilty pleasures, they don't exist. They don't exist. If you like Disturbed, say you like Disturbed, man. If you like Korn, say you like Korn. If you like Evanescence, who actually I think dropped a new album, if not are dropping a new album this year. If you like Evanescence, like Evanescence. And I think this is one of those situations where I'm like, when you're talking about being a gatekeeper and all the rest of that stuff, that crap shouldn't exist, man. We like what we like when it comes to metal. And I think we like what we like for a reason. And let's just talk about it. Like, matter of fact, leave me some of your favorite guilty pleasures in the comment section below, man. But until next time, I am your man's Nick Rattlehead. And behind this camera, somewhere out in California, is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Tell him one more time, what's your name? Matt the Crab. Wash your hands, support your bands. Peace. Go shorty.